Hey everybody. Okay, so I know a lot of you are waiting for an update on what my appointment was like today. Sorry, it's a little windy today. My hair's a little crazy. Um, so I went back and saw Dr. Vance today after we did the angiogram last week so that we could decide on what the treatment plan would be. And I got to see pictures of Annie, and she is fat and ugly. Ugly little Annie. Well, ugly big Annie, I should say. So he said that initially when he looked at my images from the angiogram, that clipping was going to be the thing. Craniotomy, incision, clipped, and get her clipped. Then he said he went back and studied my images and said if I wanted to, he would give me the option of coiling. So that kind of right there gave me the feeling that he was behind what I was behind as far as I've thought clipping the whole time. If I had an option, I was going with clipping. Both of them have their pros and their cons, but I had already done a lot of research and decided that I was probably going to go clipping. And when he said that that was his initial option treatment, or treatment option, I should say, I felt like he felt the same way, and he did, and he totally agrees with my decision, and I have decided to go with having the clipping done. So now I just got to wait and get it scheduled and fight with his scheduler to get on the surgery schedule. But anyway, things happen for a reason when they happen, and it'll happen, and I'll get all taken care of. But so here's the downfall to having the clipping done. I feel like I'm planning for the birth of a baby or something by maybe I should have a shower. We should do an Annie shower. So y'all get me headbands and hair ties and stuff like that. But so he will go in and do an incision right about here. So they're usually pretty kind with the hairline nowadays. No longer do they shave half of your head. And he was looking on my images and he's like, oh, let me look and see what size your sinuses are. Because, you don't only have sinuses, down in here. You have 2 sinus pockets up in here. So he's like, ooh, you've got big sinuses. He's like, not the biggest I've seen, but, and I said, ooh, so you've seen bigger? So I'm like, hey, I got big sinuses. How cool is that? Okay, but, so he will go in here. He will have to cut the temporalis muscle, so the muscle in here. So I'll have an indentation in my head permanently for the rest of my life right here, but that's all right. We already knew I was a dented can. It'll be okay. And then because he has to go through the sinuses up there, he will have to take fat from my stomach or my thigh. I told him to take all he wanted. And he will actually pack, when he puts me back together, he'll pack my sinus with fat so that cerebrospinal fluid doesn't leak into the sinus cavity and then leak out. Because we don't want that. So, So anyway, obviously incision here, he'll cut out like a triangle of bone. And because it's unruptured, we shouldn't have any problem with him putting the piece of bone back in and putting me back together. A lot of times with ruptured people, the pressure has built up, the fluid is built up because of the bleeding, and they have to leave the bone flap out for a while and then go back and replace it back in. But since I'm not ruptured, then we should be okay with putting the bone flap in. So he said because of dealing with the sinuses and intruding through there, and where he has to lift my hemisphere of the brain to get down, I don't think I explained I said it was in the circle of Willis in the center, but basically if you go right here between my eyes and you go in my temple, where that crosses, right in the middle, is where the aneurysm is. So it's right in the middle of the brain between the 2 hemispheres, but buried kind of down in the middle. So he has to go in there, open up. I've watched this surgery on YouTube a couple of different times. I could almost do it. I could assist with my own surgery. but I gotta be asleep. So he'll go in, separate the two hemispheres of the brain. He has to kind of lift up on it, and he said because of where they have to lift up on it, it is where your sense of smell is. So ironically, this 14-year Sensi consultant is going to lose her sense of smell. May come back, may not come back. The other thing he said, I will have personality changes, and when he first said that, all I could think of was Jekyll and Hyde. But so basically, he said you will have personality changes. So confusion, a little bit of memory loss, a little bit forgetful, ditzy. So I'm going to be a blonde for a little while. Don't take offense. Anybody that's blonde, please don't take offense to that. You know, that joke's been around forever and ever. That should correct itself in time. And, you know, there may be some residual, but so those are the two worst things I'm looking at. Of course, there's all kinds of other risks, but they're very, very low. The couple of risks that could happen when he goes in there, you know, pituitary gland could get jacked up. He's seen that once. There was something else. Shoot, I can't remember what it was, but he's seen it once. It's not near my optic nerve. There's always the potential that the optic nerve could get messed up because it's above the optic chiasm. But he said he's never had any complications with it as far as where this aneurysm is. So that's where we're at. He said 1 night in the ICU, as long as no complications, 1 night in the ICU, 4 to 5 nights on the floor, and then I can come home. Said definitely 6 weeks of downtime. You're going to be out of it for 6 weeks. And then after that, it's kind of individual as far as how much my recovery progresses. It could be, you know, another 6 weeks. It could be 6 months. It could be a year. Who knows? It just kind of depends on each individual person. So you want to see glamour shots of Annie? There's a strange man behind me. So, okay, we've decided that Annie looks like a gummy bear. And I printed them because I figured it would be easier to show. So, oh gosh, where's my pointer? This is Annie. She's big and fat and ugly, and you can't see it well, but she has like a little crease right here. She has a little butt cheek, and so she looks like a little gummy bear sitting backwards, hugging the other artery. So she's big. When I say she's lobulated, this is what I'm talking about. She's not a perfect circle. She has weakened lump areas there, down here. So she's quite big. You can't even see the anterior communicating artery because she basically takes up the whole thing. So this is a backside view of her from the other side. Where's my pointer? So you can kind of see, this is the backside. This is where the anterior communicating is, and so she's kind of hogging that entire space in there. Let me go back to the sun and get it situated better on the camera for you. Oh, she's upside down. All right, so there's our fat gummy bear. So there she is. So he will go in and put a clip or 2 or 3 or 4, depending on how many he needs, across the base of it, which her base is 6 millimeters. The widest area in width on her is 8 millimeters, and then she's 12 millimeters tall, long, whatever you want to call it. But she's very lumpy and bumpy, and she's ugly. So anyway, that is where we are at. So now I just have to wait a few days to see if the surgery scheduler contacts me, and if she don't, I'm going to harass her so I can get on the surgery schedule. So that's where I'm at on that. Trying to think if there's anything else to tell you guys. So I've been practicing my Frankenstein thump drag walk because, you know, I have my Frankenstein scar. But anyway, so anybody have any questions? That's where we're at. So that's my update. My blood pressure is up today, but kind of to be expected. I'm not really flipping out externally, but obviously subconsciously I am. So blood pressure's up a little bit today. So I will watch it, hopefully get it back down in the next day or two. Or I'm going to have to call the doctor and see about getting an increase, because obviously blood pressure is my biggest enemy right now. So big thing, continue to stay chill, keep my blood pressure down, and get my surgery date. And then deal with the tough part. But the thing about doing craniotomy, very, very tough part in the very beginning, but it's cured, it's fixed. He will do an angiogram after he clips it right there in the surgery room to make sure that it's not leaking. Well, I shouldn't say leaking, making sure that no blood supply is going into the aneurysm itself. And what will happen is that aneurysm balloon that he clips off with the clip, and it's basically like a little clothesline clip. It will just shrivel up and die away because it won't have a blood supply to it anymore. So they will do a couple of follow-up checks on me, MRAs or angiograms, which MRA is a MRI of just the vessels in the head. So they'll do that a few times over the next year to make sure that it's behaving itself. And then I'll get MRI follow-ups every 5 years after that to make sure I don't develop any more, because of course I'm at more risk of developing another aneurysm down the road. Coiling, a little bit easier during the procedure, a little bit easier recovery, because they just go in through the groin or the wrist, just like an angiogram, go in, put coils in, put a stent in, and all that. Then it clots up. It's supposed to clot up and start shrinking and lose its blood supply. The downfall to that is you have to keep getting checks every 6 months. And if the coils compress or squish down in there, or it doesn't work, they have to go in and do more coiling. And if that continues to not work, you end up with a craniotomy anyway, and you end up with a clipping. So I'm all about, let's just go and get it done and over with. You also have to be on anticoagulants 6 months afterwards minimum. And the longer you go and take the chance of it failing, which it's successful for a lot of people, the older you get, the harder surgery gets, the harder recovery gets. I'm young enough now, I'd rather have the surgery now than to have something fail later on and have to have surgery down the road. So, like I said, he leaned towards craniotomy and clipping. I leaned towards craniotomy and clipping, so we felt comfortable coming together on that. So that's where it's at. So that's what's going to happen. So hopefully I won't turn into Jekyll and Hyde, and, become mean. But anyway, he actually turned to Mike and said, the personality change is going to be harder on you than it will be on her. So, but hopefully I won't have too much and won't be too forgetful. I'm already a little bit ditzy anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But all right, you guys, so that's my update for today. As soon as I get a surgery schedule, I will let you know, and we'll kind of go from there. But I appreciate everybody's support and love and prayers and, good juju and positive vibes and all that. So keep sending it this way, and I will take all you got to give me. And I love you guys.